Let's be real, everyone wants to be a successful YouTuber. But the harsh truth is that 99% of channels just don't make it. And it's not about luck, it's not about some secret hack. There is a clear, repeatable path that separates that top 1% from everybody else. Today, we're breaking down that exact 9-point roadmap. But first, let's just wrap our heads around the scale of the challenge. Okay, so just how big is the competition? Well, right now there are over 155 million channels on YouTube. That is the massive sea of content you're jumping into. And that number? It's growing every single day. Now, out of all those millions and millions of channels, take a guess. What percentage do you think actually makes any money? The answer is just 6%. A tiny, tiny fraction ever see a single dollar from their content. That means 94% of channels never even get to the point of monetization. And what about hitting the big leagues? Getting that 1 million subscriber plaque? Well, the number is even more shocking. Less than 0.05% of channels ever get there. That's like one channel out of every 2,000. So yeah, the odds can feel pretty stacked against you. I know what you're thinking. Those numbers are pretty terrifying. But here's the thing, they shouldn't be, because that successful 1%, they don't have a magic wand. They just know how to avoid a very common, very predictable trap that nearly everyone else falls right into. Answering that question is exactly what we're gonna do right now. So first things first, we gotta talk about what not to do. This is the journey that almost every aspiring creator takes, and honestly, it's a blueprint for failure. But once you understand this trap, you can learn to sidestep it completely. This whole thing kicks off with a massive gap between what people think YouTube is and what it actually is. The expectation is, oh, I'll just record and upload, one of my videos will go viral, and after 4,000 watch hours, the money will just start rolling in. But the reality? It's a brutal wake-up call. Making even one video has dozens of steps, growth is painfully slow, and the money you make at the start is, well, it's next to nothing. And that huge gap, well, it leads people down a very predictable path, a 5-step journey straight to quitting. You start with those high hopes. Then reality hits you like a truck. So what do? You start binging how to grow on YouTube videos, which feels productive, but you never actually apply the advice, so you don't see any progress. And eventually, you just quit. And that right there, that's the absolute core of the trap. Your brain is tricking you. Watching another tutorial gives you a little dopamine hit, right? It feels like you're making progress. But if you don't actually get up and implement what you've just learned, you're just spinning your wheels, stuck in this endless loop of watching without doing. So how do you break out of that loop? Well, it all starts in your head. The first 2 points on our roadmap are all about building the right mindset, because that is the foundation for everything else. It really boils down to 2 things. And honestly, they're super simple, but you just can't skip them. First, you have to set realistic expectations. That's what stops you from feeling totally crushed when reality hits. And second, you need to be resilient enough to push through the hard parts, because that's exactly where most people give up. And this first point is so important. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be a YouTuber or do you want to make videos? See, a lot of people are in love with the idea of it, the fame, the money, but far fewer are in love with the actual work, the scripting, the filming, the tedious editing. You have to fall in love with the process, not just the prize at the end. And speaking of reality, let's talk about the myth of the overnight success. It just doesn't exist. You might see a creator like Saklan Khan, whose first video on a new channel went viral. Looks like he just got lucky, right? Wrong. Before that first video, he'd already made over 500 videos on a different channel, spending years practicing and getting better. There's no such thing as an overnight success. All right, so once you've got your head in the right place, it's time to get strategic. This is all about working smarter, not just harder. And these are the key points you've absolutely got to master. Think of these 5 points as your game plan. It's about actually taking action on what you learn, filtering out all the bad advice out there, understanding when not to be original, and getting super clear on your niche, while also knowing when it might be time to pivot. This is the question you need to tape to your monitor. Seriously. Before you click on the next YouTube Secrets video, just be honest with yourself. Did I actually do the thing I learned from the last one?
Even if you just make your thumbnail 1% better or your title a little punchier, that's real progress. Action is everything. A huge part of strategy isn't just knowing what to do, it's knowing what advice to completely ignore. So be on the lookout for red flags. If someone promises you overnight success, if they're selling shady shortcuts like buying views, or if all they talk about are algorithm hacks and secret settings instead of making better videos, run the other way. Okay, now for what might be the most controversial but most important piece of advice in this entire roadmap. As a new creator, your goal should not be to be 100% unique. I know it sounds crazy, but trying to reinvent the wheel from day one is a recipe for failure. Here's how steal like an artist works for YouTube. You don't start from scratch. No way. First, you find what's already successful in your niche. Analyze the video formats, the title styles, the thumbnails that are already proven winners. Use that as your foundation. Then, once you've got that solid base, you add you. Your unique personality, your humor, your specific way of explaining things. That's your unique selling point, your USP. Okay, we've got the mindset, we've got the strategy. Now it's time to talk about the day-to-day actions that actually get you views and subscribers. You've probably heard of this before, right? The 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle. Well, it applies perfectly to YouTube. Not all the tasks you do are created equal. In fact, just a few key actions are responsible for almost all of your growth. So picture this, all the stuff you do for your channel. Only a tiny fraction of it, about 20%, is actually responsible for 80% of your growth. Most creators waste all their time on that other 80% of tasks that don't really move the needle. The secret is to figure out that critical 20% and obsess over it. So what is that magic 20%? What are the few things you should be absolutely obsessed with? Well, it's these 3 things. Number 1, the idea itself. Is it something people are actually searching for? Number 2, the packaging. That's your title and thumbnail, the thing that makes people click. And number 3, the hook. Those first 30 seconds that convince people to stick around. Get these 3 things right, and you're most of the way there. And finally, the one action that ties all of this together and makes it work is consistency. It is the only way you're going to get better at coming up with ideas, packaging them, and hooking viewers. And on top of that, it's a huge signal to the YouTube algorithm that your channel is active and deserves to be shown to more people. And that's it. That's the roadmap. It's not a secret, and it's definitely not a shortcut. It's a system that combines the right mindset, a smart strategy, and focused daily action. The path to joining that top 1% is right here. It's clear. The only question left is, are you ready to do the work that the other 99% won't?